Okay, today we're going to address a problem that's possibly plaguing you if you own an r170 SLK, and that is this side window, probably only on your driver's side. So as you'll notice, the window's been closed with the roof up, and it's nicely sealing along here underneath the rubber seal. But if I close it with the window up, now you'll see the window is not flush with the rubber, and that's just because up here it's not sealing in. And why is that? Well, over the years, people, whoever owned this car before me, have probably been closing the door by the window, and just slamming the door over the years has made this window go slightly shaky. So we need to adjust it down in here, down inside the track, adjust it so it's pushing this way a little more. And another note, if you own a car that does have frameless windows, if you see anyone closing your car door by the window, take a sharp piece of copper pipe and jam it in their forehead, because that should not be allowed. Murder them in their sleep. You'll do us all a favor. Anyway, so I'm going to have to remove the door panel in order to do this. I'm going to set up the camera and get some tools and be back in a minute. Okay, so now we've got a bit of trim to remove. I'm going to start with the mirror triangle here that covers the mirror electronics. Take something plastic, take a tongue depressor, something wood. Don't use a screwdriver. I mean, you can if you want, but wrap the tip in electrical tape so it doesn't hurt anything. Sorry, I've got a really chunky throat today. Insert in the top. Pry gently out. There's one little finger in here that pushes in. Pop that out and then lift straight up and out. Oh, and the little plastic. There's a little plastic clip that holds the little finger in here in. Let's put that back where it's supposed to be, in the door. And then the two little, there's a long one for the front that goes in there, and this one that goes behind the trim panel. So that comes off. Second, pop this little cover here. Again, use something soft, something that's not going to wreck anything. And this is just to unplug the mirror wiring so that when your panel comes off, you're not pulling on the mirror wiring. Two plugs in here. I'll unplug both of those. Come on. And tuck the wires back in so they don't pull when we're pulling the door panel off. Now, I'm not sure if this is in camera. Make sure it's in frame. It doesn't help if you can't see it. Okay. Door handle or door pull cover. The outer part pulls away. So you're just going to grab it from underneath. There's a little hole here at the very bottom that you can kind of get your finger under. And just grab and gently pull the cover out. And that's going to expose, there's 2 screws in here. And they're Phillips. Use a big Phillips screwdriver, not a little weenie one. It's not going to work. I'm going to pull those 2 screws out. Come on. It's loose, but it hasn't popped out. Okay, that's those 2 screws. You can see how loose the door panel is becoming. So let me make sure you're back in focus again. On the back of the door, there's an SRS cover for the side airbag. And this little metal plate, there's 2, now you can use a smaller Phillips, 2 small Phillips screws to remove in the chrome cover plate. Actually, this screwdriver is not even small enough for this, but anyway, it'll work. 2 screws, cover plate. Sorry about getting in your way, but I gotta put those aside. And where's my plastic? SRS little airbag emblem. Pop it off, out, don't yank it. It's got a little catch there to hold it. Another screw there. A big Phillips. I don't know why I don't have my magnetized screwdriver with me, because it makes it a lot easier. Okay. And lastly, the one around the door latch. Can you see that from there? Yeah, you can. And we're going to pull that out. Okay, and now going to, oh, back in a second, I gotta get my keys because I'm going to put the window down for this. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm going to reposition this camera so you can see it, and I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, hopefully that's in focus there. Anyway, so now we're going to pop up on the bottom. You can use a plastic trim tool, or a lot of times you can just use your fingers, get under one of the lips, run your fingers along, and that will pop the clips out. You're more than likely going to break one or two of them almost always break. So having a couple extras from the dealership, I think that 30 or 40 cents is a good thing to have. So you're going to pop all of the pop clips along the bottom, front and side. Okay, I think that's all of them. Grab the door handle. Now you're going to lift up and out a little bit. There's a clip behind here that pushes in and down. It has to pop out. Okay, there we go. And this may or may not come off with yours. The inner rubber for the window. So I'm going to have to grab the camera. Pull that aside for a second to show you how to unhook the door handle. So, 1 second. Down into here so you can see. Can you? No, I gotta hold the camera. Okay, I'm gonna unhook the wire going to the tweeter in the door. That's just a pull connection, and then down, follow the wire that's going for your door lock to here. There's just simply this pop clip. It pops up. See that little arm goes into there. Oops, where are we? This little C-shaped arm or question mark shaped arm pops into there, and then you pull the cable out of the slot. Oops, slot right here. And I'm gonna set up and be done. Come back in 2 seconds. There's a couple more tools I need. And before we do that though, it's pretty apparent someone's had this door off before by the tape. So someone had this door off at some time. I don't know why. I just use freaking masking tape to... Unbelievable. Anyway. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna pull some of this stuff off and I'll be back in a second to show you where the adjusters are. You know, sometimes your brain gets a little squishy when you get older. And I never thought of it. I don't know why, but for adjusting, it's fine. I took the door panel off. I wanted to see, to lubricate the sliders and everything. But to adjust the window, there's 2 rubber caps under here. and you could just have access to the bolt on the window track and move it. Let's pull these off. I can push them from in here. One, they're just a plastic rubber plug, and I can get to the second one without popping it with a plastic trim tool. Come on off. And I should be able to trust the window from here, the window track. I mean, it looks like here's the window track inside. I'll move the window up and down so you can see the. Here's where the slider goes. Actually, I'll show you also. If you're having an issue with how high your window, if it doesn't raise high enough, if it stops at a certain point, this rubber stopper here is attached to this screw here. It's a Torx-headed screw. I think it is like a 7mm reverse Torx. And you can just basically screw that stopper up and down. When that's what stops the window from going up. Anyway, so I'm going to, since I'm here, that's what I was going to do anyway. One of the things is using synthetic grease, lubricate the slider here. Just in front and behind that little nylon pad that goes up and down. Should be under here. Should be able to get to the other. Oh, it's way in under there. It's not that easy to get to. Hold on a second. Might be able to hit it here. No. No. There. Through this front hole here, I can get to grease the front slider, which is the same type of pad as that one. And this doesn't touch any window or anything, so you don't have to worry about it greasing anything up. So I got some on the front, got some on the back. And let's move to adjusting that window in and out, which, if you don't care about lubricating your doors, ignore everything I've done so far and pop these two rubber caps off the bottom of your door on the back. Usually it's not going to be the front. The front can be adjusted, but there's two more caps right here for adjusting the front in and out, but 99.999% of the time people are grabbing the top of your window to close the door, and that's what makes it loose. So let me get this camera. I don't know if I can get under, because we have to get under the door to show you this. So let's zoom in a tiny bit. You can see that's the door track. This is what the motor and the window follows, this up and down. So basically, if we want the window at the top to come in toward the car, we have to push the bottom outward toward the outside of the car. If you want it to come the other way, you'd pull it the other way. So essentially, I think it's a, let me see what size bolt this is. I think it's a 10 probably. And it's a 10. 10mm on the bottom, on the front hole at the bottom rear too. So I'm going to hold this so it doesn't move on me. Tightening or loosening? Tightening. Get on there, and I'm going to loosen it the tiniest little bit. And push this forward. There we go. I moved about 2mm. So I'm just going to do it in little increments. I want to tighten it back up again. Okay. Tighten it. And put the window up. Make sure there's nothing blocking closing the door. Let's see how this. Oh, much better. It's close. Yeah, sorry. Back off of that zoom a little bit. it's close. See, it's now going under here, but not all the way. So I want it a little tiny bit. And if that's not going to work, then I can adjust this bump stop on here, because that's also a possibility that, oh, can you see it through here? Oops, no, of course you can't. The white bump stop here, from banging every time it goes up, I mean, it's hitting on the bottom of the door, that can get a little bit shorter over the years. So just bringing that up another ½ millimeter, it's very possible that the window is just going up the tiniest bit too much to allow it to close. So if I crank this down with this bolt on the bottom of it, and I'll bring it closer so you can see that little bolt. If you can. You see this rubber pad here, and like I said, that hits the top. When it goes up, it hits the frame of the door and stops it. And there's a little brass rod you see that goes through that moves this up and down. So bringing that down, or sorry, up the tiniest bit will stop the window from going up that much. So I'm going to adjust the window. I wonder if I should adjust it in or out, or with that. Actually, I'm going to move that. I'm going to get the proper socket. I'm going to move that little rubber pad up the tiniest little bit, and we'll see what happens. Back in a second. Okay, it took me about 15 minutes of fiddling, but we've got her closing good now, and I'll show you how it closes, and then I will show you what we did to fix it, or I did to fix it, whatever. As you can see, the seal is now underneath. If I really, really like press hard, it can go in maybe another millimeter or two. But as you can see on my fingerprints along here, isn't that nice? So again, closing properly. Stop the wind whistling and the water coming in when you're washing your car. Now, get it set up back here so you can see this. This is the, I'm going to try and bring it in here, and I apologize if there's very little light. Again, this is, if you can you see the slot down there with the, I don't know if you can see my finger coming through from the bottom. So that's like slotted, so it moves in and out. And I move that in probably, or toward the outside of the door. I move this part in probably 2 millimeters, about that, about 2 to 3 millimeters maybe. I did the same thing on the front. I did adjust the front the tiniest little bit. I did say that usually the problem is there, but I found that moving the front one, which is basically the exact same as the back, you can see the the bottom of it here. It's the same thing. It's slotted, and it moved in probably about 1 millimeter on the front. And then I'll bring the window down so you can see it. Can you see that? Yep. So this is the adjuster screw here for the rubber down. Can't see the rubber stopper when it's all the way down. Anyway, you can see it up there, that white rubber stopper. So let me bring that back down into view. And up a little bit. 5 millimeter long socket up through the bottom onto that tiny little screw. And then I turned it about 1/4 to 1/2 a turn to bring that up, and that will stop the window from rising as much. So now the side windows will not raise as far, about 1/2 millimeter, and now it closes properly. Anyway, and again, you don't have to remove the whole door panel. I did it to lube my slides. Thanks for watching. Okay, so while we're in here, I figured I might as well do a quick recap, just to make sure, because I kind of got back and forth there a little bit. If you are just adjusting the window in and out so that it sits flush with your rubber trim on the roof, you only need to remove the bottom screws, or bottom caps. 10 millimeter bolt to adjust the slider in and out. It's going to be pretty hard to move it. Oh, you can move it from underneath without taking the door panel off. Same with the front. And then the rubber The rubber stopper that stops the window from going all the way up, that's a 5mm, just a regular 5mm socket. It is a, oops. It is a reverse Torx, but a 5mm socket. It's not cranked on there. It's like very easy to turn. So just as long as you can get something on it, a 5mm socket works perfectly. 5.5 is too big, and 4.5 is too small.